This video is kindly brought to you by the Deck of Many and Humblewood.net. Welcome back to the Gallant Goblin. I'm Theo, and today we have the Descent into Avernus set from the Icons of the Realm. Descent into Avernus is the newest adventure from Dungeons & Dragons. The interesting thing about this set is the adventure itself hasn't been released yet, and we don't have early access to it. But the minis came out several weeks before the adventure did, so we have the minis. This is an adventure where you have the devils versus the demons, and you have to go into hell, into Avernus, and stop whatever foul plans they have in store for the material plane. And we're having a celebration for reaching a 1,000 subscriber milestone on our YouTube channel. You can visit gallantgoblin.com/win to enter. You can win a box of the Descent into Avernus minis. You can win a full set of the Deck of Many reference cards. You can win the giant Waterdeep statue that we reviewed earlier this week. You can click the eye in the corner to see that review. So again, just go visit gallantgoblin.com/win to enter. Because we don't have the book in front of us, we don't have a lot of the specific stats for these monsters, or maybe the background for some of the NPCs. A lot of the information was out there. A lot of these characters were pre-existing in the universe, and there's a lot of press materials. And also, we attended D&D Live, where this adventure was announced this year, back in May 2019. And so we got to meet a lot of actors who are portraying some of these characters that we now have minis for, and we've got some of the backstory of the adventure. So we're going to give you what we have. If there's any corrections that we have later on, check the description below, and you'll find any corrections that we find when we have the book in front of us. Otherwise, this set does not include huge creatures. Some of the older sets do. This one tops out at large. Zariel over here and this Pit Fiend are probably the largest one in this set. But here they all are. Let's take a look at them in a little bit more detail. Quasits are fairly intelligent little demons who skitter about the lower planes, running errands for other demons, or just being pulled apart and snacked on when a passing demon feels a bit peckish. They have the ability to turn invisible and change form into a bat, centipede, or toad. They quite enjoy lashing out from their invisible form and poisoning their foes before they know what's happening. Quasits can also serve as familiars and are obsequious servants, but they whisper into the ear of their masters, urging them into acts of evil and chaos. Like all of the Yeenoghu demons in this set, this Quasit has a hyena head. Quasits appear in Out of the Abyss, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Curse of Strahd, and the Lost Laboratory of Quailish. Their stat block can be found in the Monster Manual, and they have a challenge rating of 1. Babau's first spawned during a battle between the Archdevil Glacia and the Demon Lord Grozit. When Glacia wounded Grozit with her sword, and Grozit's blood spilled onto the ground, from it spawned the first Babaus. They helped win the battle for Grozit, and secured his place among the demon lords. Babaus are quite cunning for demons, and can cast a number of spells, including Dispel Magic, Levitate, and Fear. Their gaze can weaken creatures, causing their strength-based attacks to do half damage. Their stat block appears in Volo's Guide, and they have a challenge rating of 4. Spined devils are smaller and weaker than your typical fiend, but become quite formidable when they attack as a pack from the sky, raining spines down on their foes from the air. The spines burst into flame on impact. They can also bite and poke at things with their forks. Being on the lower end of the pecking order, but with typical fiendish ambitions, the spined devils generally serve as messengers and spies for greater fiends. As they tend to travel around the Nine Hells more than most devils, they can be good sources of information. They can also be summoned for other devils. A spined devil has a CR of 2, and its stat block is in the Monster Manual. They're found in Dragon Heist and Tomb of Annihilation. Lemures were spirits of the restless, vengeful dead in Roman mythology. In D&D, they were the lowest of the devils, just a molten mob of flesh that thrashes about impotently with its arms and fists. They are created when evil souls are first banished to the Nine Hells, and they remain in this gruesome, but mostly harmless form until they find a way to get promoted, at which time they are generally transformed into imps. They have a CR of 0 and are found in the basic rules. They appear in Dragon Heist. When evil spellcasters need an eternally bound servant to guard an area or object, they may strike down a wizard and through a dark ritual transform the wizard's skull into a flame skull. The flame skull flies under its own power and radiates a green flame. Green flame! While it only retains an echo of its old memories, it is still able to cast spells, though now it needs no components. The flame skull follows the creator's instructions quite literally, and only if it can no longer carry out its instructions will it regain its free will. Flame skulls have a CR of 4 and are found in the basic rules. Flame skulls appear in the Lost Mines of Phandelver, Curse of Strahd, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Princes of the Apocalypse, and Ghost of Saltmarsh. Barbed devils are greedy, medium-sized fiends who look vaguely humanoid, but who are covered from head to foot in spines, barbs, and hooks. Always on the lookout for something they can steal for themselves, they're most often employed as guards for higher-ranking devils. Along with their spines, they're also able to attack by hurling balls of fire at their foes. They're resistant to magic and very perceptive, so it's hard to get the drop on them. Barbed devils have a CR of 5 and are found in the basic rules. They appear in Ravnica, Rise of Tiamat, Tomb of Annihilation, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and Dragon Heist. We don't know much about Reya Mantlemorn, or Reya Dawn as she was known in the WizKids press release for this set back in May. It's known that she's a, quote, fellow adventurer, and she appears to be a human fighter. Every Icons of the Realm set includes several minis that can be used as player characters. Sometimes the minis are made to represent certain named NPCs in the adventure, and sometimes are just test characters that never show up in any official product outside of these miniature boxes. However, an actor played Reya at D&D Live 2019, where she was on a quest related to her father. She also seemed to be affiliated with Falaster Fisk in some way, suggesting that she will be an NPC in this adventure. In an Adventurers League event at DragonCon this year, a character named Falaster Fisk appeared as a ranking member of the Baldur's Gate Thieves Guild. It's highly likely that he'll show up in that role in the Avernus adventure. The mini could also be used as a human player character or NPC of most any light or medium armor class. Armed with a sword and a belt full of pouches, he could serve as a rogue, warlock, sorcerer, bard, or most any other class. If you asked Chris Perkins what his favorite thing is in Descent into Avernus, I think he's likely to say it's the Abyssal Chicken. While we don't have the stat block until the Avernus book is released, we know from Perkins' Twitter feed, unless something has changed, that the Abyssal Chicken has a CR of 1/4 and has a multi-attack where it can bite and claw, and that it's terrible at flying and will fall if it's airborne at the end of its turn. Also, somewhat surprisingly, tastes like chicken. Merrenoloths were introduced in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, as the Yagnoloths who are captains of the vessels that sail the river Styx. A Merrenoloth magically bonds with whichever ship it's contracted to captain, effectively making the ship the Merrenoloth's lair, affording it certain control over the vessel, such as keeping it afloat even after massive damage, and making sure it always stays true to its course. Merrenoloths can sometimes be coaxed into captaining vessels outside of the lower planes, if the price is right. Merrenoloths tend to avoid combat whenever possible, usually stipulating this fact in their contracts. But if needed, they have ways of defending themselves. Merrenoloths have a CR of 3 and are found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. They appear in the Lost Laboratory of Quailish and in the random coastal encounter table in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Imps are ubiquitous in the lower planes, always running errands, spying, or antagonizing any mortals they may encounter. One rung up from the Lemures, imps proudly serve higher-ranking devils. Though they aren't particularly diligent or efficient, they're easily distracted when they see a bit of evil that needs to get done. Imps are sneaky little things, able to change shape at will, assuming the form of a rat, raven, or spider. They can also become invisible to get the drop on foes. They have tails like scorpions, which can inflict poison damage. They can also serve as familiars or servants of spellcasters, always urging their masters to evil in the hopes of eventually claiming their soul as a way of moving up in the ranks. Imps have a CR of 1 and are found in the basic rules. They appear in many adventures, including Dragon Heist, Acquisitions Incorporated, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Curse of Strahd, Saltmarsh, and Storm King's Thunder. Dretches are among the lowliest of demons, disgusting, weak, foul-smelling, and barely intelligent. About the most dangerous thing about them is their stench, which can actually poison a person. Due to their low intelligence, they're not capable of much more than a very simple one-step task. They appear in the basic rules and have a challenge rating of 1/4. They can be summoned by certain other demons and the Summon Lesser Demon spell. They appear in Out of the Abyss, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Curse of Strahd, and the Ghost of Saltmarsh. These masked warrior devils are the remains of the souls of soldiers, bodyguards, and mercenaries who unquestionably served an evil cause in life. In the Nine Hells, they are drafted into the Legion of Soldiers who protect the realm from outsiders. No longer in need of their individuality, they have uniform metal masks bolted to their heads, signifying only their commander and the lair of the Nine Hells in which they serve. They fight until death and feel no fear. However, they are unable to speak and can only communicate via telepathy. If their commanders are slain, their orderly ranks become confused, with no audible orders being given. They have a CR of 4 and are found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. They have yet to appear in an official adventure, so perhaps Avernus will be the first. When Mr. Creosote explodes during Monty Python's Meaning of Life, his soul likely finds its way to the Nine Hells, where it becomes a Nupperibo, a devil personification of gluttony and sloth. Nupperibos wander through hell, generally in packs, reaching for any piece of rotten flesh or food they can stuff in their gaping mouths. Never satiated, they forever wander in pursuit of the next meal. They're constantly surrounded by clouds of flies, sturges, and other nasty vermin. If any creature takes damage from their cloud of vermin, the Nupperibo can flawlessly track them for the next 24 hours. With no thoughts of their own outside of their instinct to eat, they unquestioningly follow any command given to them by other devils. But a devil seen leading a pack of Nupperibos will not likely get a promotion anytime soon. They're found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes and have a CR of 1/2. A Bulezau is another demon introduced in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. These goat-headed demons are the embodiment of animalistic rage and make up the bulk of many more powerful demons' standing armies. Others lurk in dark canyons or caves, waiting for the next battle, or they gather together in mobs and fight amongst themselves until a tasty target comes into view, or they're drafted into a more powerful demon's service. They reek of death, and any creature near them will start to decompose just due to their proximity. They attack with their barbed tails, which can cause a disease, which causes the victim to truly decompose and cough up flies. They have a CR of 3. Maw demons act essentially as the mouth of Yeenoghu. After being summoned by dark rituals, Maw demons travel alongside Gnoll warbands and attack and devour anything the warband descends upon. The Gnolls do not directly control the demons, but they act in concert during rampages and incursions into humanoid settlements. Maw demons have a CR of 1 and are found in Volo's Guide to Monsters. That book also has a large section devoted to Gnolls and ways for a DM to compose various kinds of Gnoll warbands. Bearded devils often serve as elite troops in the armies of the Archdevils. Relishing in violence, they strike out with the snake-like growths on their chins to poison and weaken foes. Bearded devils are also armed with powerful glaives that leave lasting infernal wounds. The wounds continue to fester until they're staunched by a medic or sealed through magical means. Bearded devils are found in the basic rules and have a CR of 3. They appear in Dragon Heist, Rise of Tiamat, and Tomb of Annihilation. They can also be summoned by other devils and the Infernal Calling spell. Scarla Truestrike appears to be a female halfling, and she's based on the artwork in Xanathar's Guide to Everything for a monk of the Way of the Kensei. She comes armed with a dagger or possibly a short sword, and one of the best painted faces I've seen on any humanoid mini. She would make an excellent player character or a memorable NPC. One thing to note is that she appears to be missing a hand. An Erinyes is unique among devils and demons in being beautiful and statuesque. Male and female Erinyeses are humanoid in appearance, with large, functional wings. They are powerful, intelligent warrior devils, armed with enchanted weapons that deal added poison damage. Some are armed with ropes of entanglement to ensnare more powerful or wily foes. The origin of the Erinyes is lost to time, but legend holds that they began as angels who were tempted by evil and fell from the upper planes. The Erinyes appears in the basic rules and has a CR of 12, which puts them on par with an Archmage or an Yagnoloth. Mahadi is a Rakshasa trader and the proprietor of Mahadi's Traveling Emporium. Mahadi is a major NPC in the Avernus adventure and featured in several Adventure League missions. Rakshasas originated in Hindu mythology, and in Dungeons & Dragons they make great villains. With the ability to disguise themselves at will, Rakshasas rarely appear in their natural forms, but blend into society in the material world as a noble, or a civic leader, or a powerful merchant. They methodically carry out their evil schemes. Rakshasas killed on the material plane are reborn in a long and painful process in the Nine Hells. Once reborn, they retain their old memories and seek retribution against those who slew them. Immune to most magic and armed with many means of escape, a Rakshasa is difficult to defeat. They have a CR of 13 and are found in the basic rules. A Rakshasa appears in Dragon Heist, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Wayfarer's Guide to Eberron, and Tales from the Yawning Portal. Glabrezus are highly intelligent demons who offer their services to those mortals who summon them in the hope of leading those mortals into evil. They offer their strength, plus they hoard great wealth, which they use to tempt short-sighted humans into ultimately ruinous bargains. These large demons are more than capable of holding their own in a fight as well. They have innate spellcasting abilities that can stun and confuse foes, powerful pinchers to subdue them, and 2 fists to pummel them into paste. Glabrezus appear in the basic rules and have a CR of 9. They can be summoned by other demons and appear in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Tales from the Yawning Portal, and Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Hezrous are physically strong, weak-willed demons who make up the front lines and the bulk of the forces in the demon armies. They're resistant to many damage types and magical effects, and they can dish out quite a lot of damage per turn with only their bite and their claws. They also give off a foul stench that can poison any creature within 10 feet of them. They have a CR of 8 and are found in the basic rules. Hezrous were one of the earliest creatures introduced into D&D, dating back to 1976. Hezrous are one of many demons that also have a summoning variant in the Monster Manual. A Hezrou has a 30% chance of summoning 2d6 Dretches, or 1 Hezrou. They appear in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Tales from the Yawning Portal, Out of the Abyss, and Princes of the Apocalypse. These massive demons look like overgrown and ferocious orangutans. They are large in size and generally travel in packs to overwhelm targets with their numbers. They keep trophies of their conquests and bring them home to display. They have innate spellcasting abilities that allow them to trap and confuse foes, and disguise and hide themselves. They can also attack recklessly and leap onto or away from foes at a long distance. The summoning variant has a chance to summon another Barlgura. They have a CR of 8 and are found in the Monster Manual. They can be called forth by a Summon Greater Demon spell and appear in Dragon Heist, Princes of the Apocalypse, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and Out of the Abyss. Yagnoloths sell their services to the highest bidder, and the creature generally in charge of the negotiation is the Yagnoloth. They also lead squads of lesser Yagnoloths into battle. They are not the top of the Yagnoloth pecking order, however. They answer to Arcanoloths and Ultraloths. Stay tuned to the end of the video to see where you can get those minis. Yagnoloths have 1 human-sized arm and 1 massive Hulk-sized arm. They usually cover one or the other depending on what's needed at the time. In negotiations, they uncover the human-sized arm. and in combat, the Hulk Smash Arm comes out to play. They are quite formidable in combat with lightning powers and the ability to teleport, leech life from foes, and stun enemies with their massive fist. They have a CR of 11 and appear in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. These greater devils are most commonly found on the 5th and 8th levels of Hell, Stygia and Cania respectively. These icy, cold wastelands are the proving grounds for the Ice Devils, who want nothing more than to overtake the Pit Fiends in the Devil pecking order. To that end, they work tirelessly to slaughter Hell's enemies and claim souls for their Archdevil masters. These large, powerful warriors can summon walls of ice to divide enemy foes, and then deal ferocious icy attacks with their bite and tail. Ice Devils have a CR of 14, which puts them on par with an adult black dragon. Their stat block can be found in the basic rules. They have a summoning variant that has a chance of calling another Ice Devil if you really want to be mean to your players. The lowest of the greater devils, Horned Devils are lazy and fearful of those stronger than them. However, they maintain their ranking due to their ferocity when provoked and their obedience in battle. Their natural armor makes them difficult to hurt, and they can swoop into battle on their leathery wings and inflict painful wounds with their barbed tails. They can also stay safely out of melee combat and hurl balls of flame down into enemy ranks. Horned Devils are found in the basic rules and have a CR of 11. The Summoner variant has a chance of summoning another Horned Devil. They appear in Ravnica and Tomb of Annihilation. Not much is known yet about Mickey the Flesh Golem, but based on this early art, he appears to be a construct created or maintained by Mad Maggie, and likely her escort and protector. Flesh Golems typically follow their creator's instructions to the letter, and can carry out their guard duties for centuries due to their ability to brush off most damage and resist many spell effects. They, however, can be rather unstable. If they do sustain sufficient damage, they may go berserk, attacking anyone in sight, including their creator. Regular Flesh Golems have a CR of 5, and the stat block is found in the basic rules. It's likely that Mickey will have a modified stat block in the Descent into Avernus book. These demon centaur-like creatures form great herds and storm across the blasted fields of the abyss, destroying everything in their path. They also act as the cavalry in the armies of the demon lords, leading the charges into battle. They are relatively unintelligent and driven by bloodlust. They can attack with their hooves, claws, and serrated tail, but they can also hurl great bolts of lightning, striking any foe that falls within the 60-foot long, 10-foot wide area of effect. They have a challenge rating of 7 and are found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Lesser devils, shrouded in chains that can animate at will to strike and grapple foes, chain devils generally serve as jailers and torturers in the lower planes. They relish inflicting pain and can even inflict emotional pain and fear by psychically causing their enemies to see them as their lost loved ones or bitter enemies. Chain devils have a CR of 8 and are found in the basic rules. They're also found in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Silvera Savikas is a tiefling living in Baldur's Gate who has devoted her life to researching the 9 hells and rooting out devil worshippers in positions of power throughout the Western Heartlands, from Baldur's Gate to Ulturel. When hell starts to break loose, she's one of the only people in Baldur's Gate who is ready for it. With her Quasit familiar Jezebel by her side, she strides into action. Correct me in the comments section below if I'm wrong, but I believe this is one of the first official 5th edition Furbolg minis that we've gotten from WizKids. Furbolgs were introduced as a playable race in Volo's Guide to Monsters. They were helped into the mainstream of D&D by several popular characters on Critical Role, such as Pumat Sol, Caduceus Clay, and Neela. Furbolgs generally lead quiet lives in remote forests, whiling away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain. With their innate connection to nature, they make perfect druids. They have a natural ability to detect magic, disguise themselves, and turn invisible. They're also able to speak in such a way as to be understood by beasts and plants. Amnesus, like pit fiends, directly report to the Archdevils. Their intellect and tactical abilities are rivaled only by their arrogance and ruthlessness. However, they are also extremely loyal to their Archdevil masters, and they lead whole armies into battle. Some Amnesus have the duty of overseeing the river Styx from various fortresses along its banks, and breaking the souls of the newly arrived Lemures into battle-ready shape. They have the responsibility of teaching these new Lemures the intricate and ironclad rules of the Nine Hells. They have a CR of 18 and are found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Their summoner variant can call forth bearded devils or barbed devils. Though we don't have details yet, this mini may possibly be used for the NPC in the Avernus adventure, Thavius Krieg. Mad Maggie is one of the warlords seeking to expand her influence in the hellscape of Avernus. She's a night hag with a sharp tongue and a powerful army of miscreants, who she sends out on scavenging runs to collect materials with which to build more powerful infernal war machines. Her troops then use the war machines in their raids and to protect her territory. She also commands a band of redcaps, some of whom have been further corrupted by the ichor in which they have soaked their caps. Olanthius is the commander of Zariel's army. In the first act of this adventure, a mighty, unprecedented incursion is made into the material world near Baldur's Gate, and it is seemingly Olanthius who leads this charge on Zariel's orders. His stat block will be included in the Descent into Avernus campaign book. At the time of this recording, all we know about Haruman is that he is the evil henchman of the Archdevil Zariel. He is potentially a Death Knight, a paladin who has fallen from grace, who died without atoning for his evil actions. They are risen as undead creatures who are immortal until they have finally found a way to redeem themselves for their actions during their lives. He carries a fiery sword, similar to the one wielded by Olanthius. When mortals somehow find favor with Tiamat prior to death, they may be rewarded for their service by being transformed into Abishai, who can continue to serve her even in death. They generally serve as emissaries for Tiamat, sent out into the Nine Hells and other realms to serve her interests. They are not part of the hierarchy of the Nine Hells, but some Archdevils do try to command them, which can cause problems as it's never wise to countermand an order given by Tiamat. Red Abishai are the highest ranking of the Abishais, with power and authority even over other dragons. Red Abishai have a CR of 19, which puts them on par with Balor's, and they are found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Pit Fiends share the second rank in the devil hierarchy with the Amnesu, though Pit Fiends are even more intelligent and powerful. They serve as the generals and the right hands of the Archdevils. Masters of both combat and infernal politics, Pit Fiends form the spine of the Nine Hells aristocracy, manipulating situations to their selfish ends through intimidation and ruthless cunning. They are extremely dangerous in battle, causing incapacitating fear in those around them, while they hurl fireballs at will and create giant walls of fire to divide legions of foes. Their multi-attack includes one poison-inducing bite, one claw attack, one tail attack, and one hit from their massive mace. They have a CR of 20, which puts them on par with an ancient white dragon. Their summoning variant can bring forth bearded devils, barbed devils, or an Erinyes. They appear in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Rise of Tiamat, and Dragon Heist. These large-sized flying devils are the highest ranked of the lesser devils. They serve primarily as taskmasters, ordering less powerful devils around and delighting when they have the opportunity to punish or demote a devil who fails to perform up to their expectations. They're also very envious of the greater devils and will begrudgingly attempt to curry favor if they think it will help them politically. Due to their bony nature, they are quite resilient in combat and immune or resistant to many types of damage. They're also able to fly to stay out of combat range, and due to their size, they have a longer reach with their claws and tails, so they can hover over a creature and freely attack while staying out of the reach of most of their foes. There is a variant block for bone devils wielding polearms like this mini. With the polearm, they can grapple their target. The Summoner variant can call forth Spined Devils or other Bone Devils. They have a CR of 9 and are found in the basic rules. They appear in Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Rise of Tiamat, Tomb of Annihilation, and the Lost Laboratory of Quailish. Zariel is the Archduchess of the first level of the 9 Hells, Avernus. She was once a powerful angel in charge of overseeing the blood war for the Angels of Celestia, but over time became corrupted with bloodlust, which led her to lead a strike from Celestia in the hopes of wiping out both sides of the war. She was defeated in her foolish plan and brought before Asmodeus, who put her in charge of Avernus, where she was tasked with protecting the 9 Hells from its enemies. Zariel is a legendary creature with legendary actions, resistances, and lair actions. She is an innate spellcaster who can regenerate health each turn. She attacks with a longsword and javelin. She can also cause necrotic damage with her touch. She has a challenge rating of 26, which puts her on par with Demogorgon and Orcus. These fiendish horse-like creatures serve as steeds for a variety of evildoers, from devils to demons to liches to hags, but especially narzugons. They are created by performing a cruel and sadistic ritual on a Pegasus. They can be summoned from the lower planes through various spells, but they will not show any loyalty to the summoner unless a sufficient sacrifice is offered up to it upon arrival, which the nightmare then consumes. The nightmare can carry creatures into or out of the ethereal plane and can grant fire resistance to those riding it. The Narzugon and Nightmare minis are unique in that they each come with extra parts, which lets them be used independently or together. Narzugons are formed from the souls of fallen paladins who forge deals with archdevils. They carry their misplaced sense of duty and loyalty into the afterlife and become champions of their archduke or archduchess. Each one claims a nightmare as their steed, which they bind with a legendary item called an infernal tack, only attainable by evil characters. The nightmare must serve and obey whoever wears the spurs of the infernal tack. Anyone killed by a Narzugon's lance is sent to the 9 Hells, where it becomes a Lemure. Narzugons can frighten foes and inspire allies in combat, and they have an impressive healing capability. They have a CR of 13 and are found in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. A few notes on the Descent into Avernus set. It is the 12th full set in the Icons of the Realms line. We thought we had seen the end of the invisible mini variants when they didn't appear in the 9th and 10th sets, but then they reappeared, so to speak, in the 11th set, Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Well, as of this 12th set here, they are gone again. There are 2 A-B variants in the set, with the Bearded Devil and the Ammonite. But the set does contain a few uncommon variant figures, with the Babau, the Legion Spine Devil, the Legion Barbed Devil, and the Merregon. Some sets seem to include minis that seem to very clearly belong to another adventure, but this set is very focused on the Avernus adventure and the Blood War. Not counting variants and most of the named characters, there are a total of 15 devils and 9 demons in this set, though classification of some of them is a little bit tricky. There are also 2 Yagnoloths. The paint jobs and the sculpts just keep improving in my eyes. We were told by WizKids that they made adjustments to their painting process with the Dragon Heist line of mini, and it really shows. Here is the devil hierarchy, starting with the lowest and moving our way up. At the bottom, you have Lemures and Nupperibos. The following are the lesser devils. You have the Imps, and then one level up is the Spine Devils, then the Bearded Devils and Merregons, the Barbed Devils, the Chain Devils, and the Bone Devils. These are the greater devils, starting with the Horned Devils and Orthons, then the Erinyes, the Ice Devil, and the Narzugons. Above that, the Amnesus and Pit Fiends. Then you have the Archdevils, dukes and duchesses who don't serve as the lord of a lair. Finally, you have the Lords of the 9, from the topmost layer all the way to the bottommost, with Asmodeus on the top of the food chain. If you're looking for other devil minis, Monster Menagerie has an Imp and an Erinyes, Monster Menagerie 3 has a Bearded Devil, and Dragon Heist has a Cambion Devil and a Pit Fiend. Demon minis are pretty plentiful. In Tyranny of Dragons, you have the main demon. In Rage of Demons, you have the Dretch, the Quasit, the Shadow Demon, the Vrock, the Chasmi Demon, the Nightmare, and the Nalfeshni Demon. Storm King's Thunder has the Yagnoloth. Tomb of Annihilation has the Yagnoloth and the Merrenoloth. Dragon Heist has Varguil and Devourers. Dungeon of the Mad Mage has Goristros, Tanaruks, and Balors. If you're looking for other Yagnoloth minis, Tomb of Annihilation has the Nikoloth and the Ultraloth. Monster Menagerie 3 has the Mezzoloth and the Arcanoloth. And for other Fiend minis, in Monster Menagerie you have the Rakshasa, the Succubus, and the Nightmare, and in Storm King's Thunder you have the Hellhound. So clearly the most interesting thing in this set is the narzugon, the one that comes as 2 minis that are interchangeable to put the rider on the horse. Now, they actually go together pretty well, I think. Be careful when you're removing these things, because you don't want to pull it off the base. Kind of hold the mini maybe underneath the horse or the nightmare and do it that way. But this works pretty well. So this guy is a little bit unstable, but I think as long as you are gentle with him and keep him on the table, move him gently around, he'll be okay. But yeah, he just comes off like this, and you attach him to his torso here, and he looks a little funny. And you put him on the Nightmare. And like I said, just be a little careful, because these, as you know, these minis are, in general, fairly brittle and easy to break. So you don't want to put too much pressure on the weak parts like the legs. But yeah, there he goes. It's great. I think this is fantastic. They could have easily just had 2 separate minis, I suppose, or 3. But they tried something a little different. I think it worked out really well. Let me know in the comments below if you think there's any other creatures like this, maybe the Griffin Riders from Dragon Heist or something that would be really interesting to see this done for, or maybe even player characters. When you have mounts for your player characters on horses or griffins or something, that would be really interesting too. So I'd like to hear what y'all think about these. Overall though, the set just looks amazing. They've really gone back to the factory and improved their sculpt quality and the paint jobs on these, especially the faces on this set. If you go back and look at some of the older sets that they've done, if you see some of our videos of older sets, and we get down and close on the faces of some of these medium-sized minis, it doesn't do them any favors because the faces are like 2 dots and a line. And so these just look really good compared to that. There's a lot of the translucent effects. The wings here on Zariel are translucent with a little green coloring. She looks amazing. The wings here on the Bone Devil are this nice kind of, they're also translucent, kind of almost a papery kind of texture. They're still plastic, but they feel a little bit different. There's just a lot of things going on with this set. One thing to note, the Yeenoghu demons in this set, and there's a couple of those, they're going to be a little bit different than the standard version of those demons. So for example, this Barlgura. A Barlgura is usually an overgrown orangutan, and clearly this looks a lot more like a hyena. Now, as you may know, Yeenoghu is the god of the gnolls, and so it makes sense. But if you wanted to use this as your regular Barlgura outside of this campaign, unrelated to Yeenoghu, it's not going to quite match what a Barlgura looks like. So it's just one of those little things to keep in mind, and there's a couple of these in here like that. Otherwise, nothing came broken in this set. I don't know if they've improved their packaging, their production, or we just had better luck this time, but nothing came broken, which is great because I spend a lot of time gluing things back together sometimes on various sets. A few of the weapons, of course, always come a little bent, and as I always say, it is not so hard to fix those. You can put them under some hot water on your sink, let it stay there for a second or two, well, like 30, 40 seconds, bend it back into shape very gently, and then dunk it into ice water to set, and you can fix those, bended swords and staves pretty easily, so you can have them ready for your table. And otherwise, yeah, the set is great. This is one of their better sets. We are doing a contest right now. To remind you, go to gallantgoblin.com/win if you'd like to win one of these boxes and a few other prizes like our deck of mini cards. And for that, we'd like to also thank our sponsor for this video, the Deck of Mini. They have a new campaign setting coming out you may have heard about called Humblewood. And Humblewood is going to be a brand new campaign setting featuring lots of cute animals and bird creatures that you can play as. And I'm planning to start my campaign for Humblewood in the coming weeks. And so I wanted you guys to help me figure out what would be good characters for my players to play. So let me tell you what the races are, and then you can recommend some race and class combos for me. You have the astute crow-like Corvum, the dignified fowl-like Gallus, the aloof pigeon-like Lumus, the agile hawk-like Raptors, the powerful owl-like Strig, and for the humble folk, you have the hardy deer-like Serva, the sensitive hedgehog-like Hedges, the brave mouse-like Gerbine, the resourceful raccoon-like Mapok, and the cunning fox-like Vulpin. The hardback of Humblewood releases November 2019, but you can visit humblewood.net right now to get access to the PDF version for your own adventures at home. Thank you for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button down below and subscribe to our channel. You can click the bell to get notified when we have new videos. Let us know in the comment section below what you think of this mini set. What was your favorite? What do you think of the narzugon? And what do you think would be another use for this kind of interactive changeable mini? I want to hear from you. So thank you again for watching. I hope you're doing well, and we'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.